and welcome to another video. I'm sorry it's been a wicked long time since I filmed a video, but life is just crazy and I feel like I'm doing something every single day. Anyways, today's video I wanted to talk about all the books that I've been reading like the past month or so. It's more than just October. It's like October and a little bit of November. In this time I've read like I want to say between 7 and 10 books because some of them are DNFs and some of them I'm still currently reading. So we're gonna just talk about like 10, I think. I don't know, I haven't really counted beforehand. So the first one I read was The Suffering by Rin Chupeco. This is the book that comes right after The Girl from the Well, and while it does have the same characters, you don't really need to read them together, I think. Actually, that's a lie. You kind of do need to read the first one in order to understand the second one. This one is really cool. It follows Tark and his ghost friend Okiku as they go to Japan in the Aokigahara forest. I believe that's how you pronounce it, which is the suicide forest. There's like a bunch of ghosty stuff that happens, and I don't really want to give anything away, but one of their friends goes missing in this forest because she believes that there is a village in the forest, and she's also like giving a tour with ghost hunters from America, and it's pretty cool, but it goes dark really quickly. I ended up giving this 3 stars, which is actually not a lot because I've kind of been talking about how much I enjoyed this book, and that is because in the first book we got points of view from Tark but also from Okiku, and we didn't get Okiku's point of views in this book. It's only through Tark's point of view, and I feel like we were missing some of that ghosty element and seeing some of her character development too, because I found her character to be very interesting and we're just missing in that. Also, I thought the beginning kind of just dragged and didn't really like have anything to do with the second half of the book, and so that's why 3 stars. So next I read Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendare Blake. This is another ghost story that follows Cass, and it's kind of like Supernatural, the TV show, where he is a ghost hunter and he goes from place to place with his mother and he exorcises the ghosts from these places. And he hears about this girl, Anna, who was murdered in such a way where her white dress was covered in blood, and that's why they call her Anna Dressed in Blood, and she's like wicked powerful, and so he wants to exorcise her. I don't really want to talk too much about this one because I feel like anything I say could end up being a spoiler, because it's kind of like one of those books where it's like a red herring, but like they kind of tell you what's going to happen from the beginning. Honestly, it's a little bit predictable. I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars because of the predictability. There was also a romance in here that I didn't expect, nor did I want, and I didn't really like Cass as a main character. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to give more details on that. It's just one of those things where it's like, I don't want to give spoilers for this one, but you'll like understand if you read the book. We're continuing on the ghost theme because next I read Bad Girls Don't Die by Katie Allender. I was on a ghosty kick for October. Anyways, this is about this girl whose little sister ends up getting possessed, and she goes and tries to get her unpossessed, and a lot of spooky stuff happens. All right, I'm that annoying person where my phone ran out of storage. Anyways, the stakes for this one isn't that high because this is written a little bit younger. So all the other ones are young adult, but I would say age range like 15. This one is more like 10, 12-year-olds could probably enjoy this. I mean, you can kind of tell by the font, it's like pretty big. Can't remember if I said already, but ended up giving it 4 stars. Next, I DNF'd this book. This is A Lush and Seething Hell, 2 Tales of Cosmic Horror by John Horner Jacobs. I'm sorry if I completely said that wrong. I tried to read this. I had it with the audiobook and I listened to the first like 2 hours of the first story and I just could not get into it at all. Honestly, I don't even know what it's about. It's like about this girl who befriends a writer, poet, something, and she's like house sits for him and she's reading his journals and learns about his life. I don't know, I thought it was pretentious and I didn't enjoy reading it, and I was reading a bunch of reviews on Goodreads and they said that the second story is like not even worth it because the first one is like really what everybody wants to read, and if I didn't even enjoy the first one, I wasn't gonna enjoy it, so I DNF'd it and I'm probably gonna sell this, honestly. Next I read One Day Shall Darken by Fauna Hodel and co-written with J.R. Briamonte, I think is how you say it. This is a true crime memoir about Fauna Hodel. This was very interesting and it had a lot of drama and a lot of gossip, so much tea. It was just like a fun time to read. There were some problems with it, but seeing as this is a memoir, I don't really like to point out the flaws in a memoir. But if I'm to talk strictly about the writing style, I would say the writing wasn't very good. The writing had a lot of grammar errors and just typos and general writing issues. I thought that the pacing wasn't very good. Aside from that, it was a very interesting story, and I would recommend reading this if you're interested in true crime. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. Next, I read The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I actually listened to this as an audiobook and kind of read along with it because it has like pictures in here, but the audiobook is full cast and it's so good to listen to. So interesting. I loved this book. I thought it was so cute. It was so cozy and adventurous and fun and creative and unlike anything I've ever read before. I ended up giving this one 4 stars and I highly recommend reading it. Like, the reason why I didn't give it 5 stars is because there's like 7 long chapters. This whole book is just 7 long chapters. And each chapter kind of feels like a different short story. It's like a different segment in the main character's life. And the last chapter is what really ties everything in. And I kind of would have just liked to see how everything ties in a little bit sooner. But I thought that it was very good and I really enjoyed reading it. And we're finally done with the ghost books. Well, I guess not exactly. So I have been reading this R.L. Stine collection of short stories. It's called Scream and Scream Again. I got about this far into it. I was trying to read like 1 short story every day leading up till Halloween, but I got sick and then I felt really behind and then I just got overwhelmed and I stopped. I don't think I'm going to read any more of it this year. I think I'm going to save the rest of these stories for next spooky season, or if I'm just feeling like I need a short story. It's kind of hard to put these on Goodreads and stuff because like I don't like to read a whole collection at one time. I like to just kind of read the short stories as I'm feeling it. Yeah, so far this is a fun time. I'd probably give it like 3 stars. Like, there were some really good stories and then some stories that weren't so great, but that's how it is all the time with collections of short stories. Next, I read Unravel Me, which is the 2nd book, but like 3rd installment in the Shatter Me series by Tahira Mafi. This is so good. I'm loving the series so much. Like, this one was just so good. I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. This one continues right after the 1st book, and this one kind of introduces more of a love triangle, and I don't want to kind of spoil anything by telling any more about that, but I thought that this was super good and I'm so invested in the story. And I actually started reading Ignite Me like right now. Like, this is what I'm currently reading. It's really hard to give any of a synopsis for this because it's part of a series and I don't want to give any spoilers if you haven't read the 1st one, but I really enjoyed it. Next, I read Fracture Me, which is the novella that comes right after this one because there's like 6 books in the series, but then there's novellas that come between some of the books. And so the 2nd novella comes after this one, and this is like the last 10% or so of this book in Adam's perspective, and the sole purpose of it, I believe, is to make you not like Adam as a character, and it did its job. I already wasn't an Adam fan. Definitely not Team Adam. I'm Team Warner. And I know it's problematic, but like, I am. And this just made me hate Adam more because I wouldn't say I hated him before, but I definitely do not like him now. That novella I gave 3 stars, but I feel like that's a little bit generous. I really did not enjoy listening to it. I didn't just have a good time with it at all, but I'm excited to read the rest of the books. I even made like this little page in my book journal and I'm excited to read the rest of them. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you've been reading recently and what you really enjoyed reading in October. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!